Hello, and welcome to NARUC International's webinar launching the new Advancing Women Leaders in Energy project. This project is part of the White House-led Women's Global Development and Prosperity Initiative, WGDP, and is supported by the U.S. Agency for International Development. NARUC is very excited to promote women's leadership advancement in the energy sector over the next 2 years through this project. I'm Erin Hamill, Director of International Programs at NARUC. Many of you are familiar with our international programs and have participated personally. Thank you for your important contributions. The goal of the Advancing Women Energy Leaders initiative is to transform the socio-cultural norms at select energy regulatory commissions in Europe and Eurasia to ensure women have the opportunity to succeed and advance in their careers. Our project has 2 tracks, with one focusing on institutional progress through engagement with human resource departments to promote more gender equity practices and policies. The second track focuses on mid-career women to help build individual leadership and communication skills while promoting career path development. As all of us around the world deal with the impacts of COVID-19, we value the relationships we have built with international energy regulators. Those allow us to continue our work through virtual activities until such time as we can once again meet in person. We thank our volunteers who are stepping up to help us break ground with this exciting new project by serving as coaches and mentors. And we are excited to work closely with those individuals who have applied to be part of this new project. A word about logistics. This webinar is currently being recorded and will be posted on our webpage. If you have questions, please use the chat box within the GoToWebinar panel to the side of your screen to send us your questions at any time. Our panelists will be responding to audience questions during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Before proceeding, I should mention that the opinions expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of USAID or NARUC. We would like to thank the generosity of the American people and the WGDP initiative for supporting this webinar. We look forward to remarks by successful women within the energy industry, sharing their experiences and setting the foundation for empowering a new generation of women and a lively discussion after. Throughout the session, we will also show several video clips that highlight thoughts from US and European women in leadership positions at utility regulators. Let's take a look at the first video now. Ms. Maya Malaquisa, Commissioner with the Georgian National Energy and Water Regulatory Supply Commission, who was also recently elected as chair of the Energy Regulators Regional Association. We are delighted to have Commissioner Malaquisa also joining us live during the panel remarks in our webinar today. Here's her video. We're having a little bit of trouble with the sound. All right, I suggest that since we're having some technical difficulties with the sound, that we pause on the video and we'll come back to that. And I'm going to go ahead and kickstart our conversation. And we're delighted to have Ambassador Kelly Curry, who's going to share her remarks through discussion today. Ambassador Curry serves as Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues at the Department of State in the United States. Ambassador Curry, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much to NARUC and to USAID for the opportunity to speak with you all today and join in celebrating the launch of WGDP's Advancing Women Leaders in Energy project in Europe and Eurasia. As the Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues for the United States, my priorities include empowering women in all industries, especially those that are traditionally male-dominated, such as energy. Women's leadership in the energy industry is critical to empowering the next generation in this key sector. We're excited that Advancing Women Leaders in Energy, that this project supports our efforts to advance women's economic empowerment through the WGDP initiative, the Women's Global Development and Prosperity Initiative. As many of you know, WGDP is our first ever whole of government approach to supporting women in the workforce and women as entrepreneurs, while also advancing policy and regulatory reforms for women's full and free participation in the economy worldwide. Through WGDP, we aim to reach 50 million women across the developing world by 2025. Over the past several months, we've worked to ensure that WGDP supports women as drivers of the COVID-19 economic recovery at home and abroad. In order to make the economic recovery successful and sustainable, we need to increase the role of women in sectors that will be critical in laying the foundation for future growth, especially energy. Energy, however, is one of the least gender diverse sectors. In energy-related industries globally, women account for only 27% of entry-level positions requiring college degrees. They account for only 25% of mid-career roles and only 17% of senior and executive level roles, and just 1% of CEOs. Furthermore, the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, found that women constitute only 32% of the workforce in the renewable energy sector and only 22% of the workforce in the oil and gas sector. As our global energy needs shift over time, there are unprecedented employment opportunities all along the value chain requiring different skill sets. But a multitude of barriers to entry and advancement, including legal restrictions on women working in the energy sector in some countries, requires a targeted approach. The Advancing Women Leaders in Energy project is answering this call in alignment with our goals under WGDP. For example, under WGDP's Pillar 1, which is women prospering in the workforce and is focused on training and skills development, we're working to provide workforce development, vocational education, and skills training, all of which are critical to ensuring women have the opportunity, the educational background, experience, and skill set to enter and succeed in energy careers. Under WGDP Pillar 2, Women Succeeding as Entrepreneurs, we're focused on the needs for women to have professional mentors and access to networks and financing. And under WGDP Pillar 3, Women Enabled in the Economy, we're focused on the enabling environment and efforts to tackle the legal, regulatory, and socio-cultural barriers that keep women from being able to succeed in this sector. That's why I'm so encouraged by this project and its emphasis on these areas, which align closely with our WGDP Pillar number 3. As we work to ensure an enabling environment for women's full and meaningful participation in the economy, we are laser focused under WGDP's 3rd pillar on removing restrictive legal and regulatory barriers that inhibit women's participation. Specifically, we're focused on 5 foundational areas of legal reform that target women's ability to have access to institutions, build credit, manage and own property, travel freely, and work in the same sectors and jobs as men. Women's increased participation and leadership in the energy sector is vital to long-term energy security and economic growth. The Advancing Women Leaders in Energy project will complement these goals in Europe and Eurasia. When we have a greater balance of women and men in the workplace, in leadership, and in regulatory authorities, the evidence is clear. We experience greater and more sustainable growth, improved stability, reduced corruption, and enhanced innovation. This supports not only increased women's economic participation, but also supports companies' own bottom lines and the growth of our global economy. This isn't just a feel-good thing. This is smart policy and smart business. Thank you so much for all of your leadership on this important topic, and I look forward to continuing this important conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Curry. We're very excited to be part of this initiative. I think we're going to go ahead and try the video with Commissioner Malaquisa again.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear stakeholders who are involved in the development of your countries and of the world, let me approach you with a very interesting initiative, which is named Women's Global Development and Prosperities Initiative, Advancing Women Leaders in Energy project. This really crucial and vital project is financed by the US Agency for International Development and is implemented by NARUC. This is something that is started and commenced to work for the development and prosperity of our member of the community. of the energy community, of the world community. This is very important approach of mine to you in order to clarify, identify women's role in the society and to enhance women involvement in the energy sector. Well, motivation in this sphere, motivation, coaching, and also facilitation is something that we really need to support and to encourage. My major goal is to implement my slogan, which is never ever give up, because I have faced lots of challenges in my career ladder while I was building a very important wall, which is called I'm Maya Malaquisa. I'm a commissioner at Georgia National Energy and Water Supply Commission. And at the same time, I was elected at the General Assembly of ERA as a chair of this really very important institution, which is becoming global and is taking a role of making changes and to cope with those challenges that are facing the world currently, which is called today COVID-19, but there will be another name for tomorrow. So we have to be ready, and by our encouragement, by our support to each other, by our understanding of each other, we can, of course, meet the challenge and overcome those troubles that we are facing as an entire community of an interesting world.
Thank you very much, and we will also hear more from Commissioner Malaquisa a little bit later. I would now like to introduce Jennifer Arangio to share a few words as well. Ms. Arangio serves as the Chief Advisor to the Acting Administrator at USAID, where she provides counsel and advice on a wide range of national security, humanitarian, and development assistance issues. Ms. Arangio.
Thank you so much, Erin. Great to be with all of you today, and especially my good friend, Ambassador Kelly Curry. At USAID, we believe that investing in women's economic empowerment helps countries become resilient and self-reliant, which in turn contributes to worldwide peace and prosperity. Women play a major role in the economic lives of their communities. Often their participation comes through less formal interactions, and we know how much these informal economies have taken a hit during COVID-19. We must rely on women and their leadership to help build even stronger communities, and this is why it is more important than ever to invest in women during this pandemic and beyond. USAID has a long history of investing in women, and the White House-led Women's Global Development and Prosperity Initiative, or WGDP, brings a whole of government approach to the belief that advancing women's economic empowerment globally has the potential to create real change and resilience. The initiative established the W-GDP Fund at USAID, now in its second year and totaling $200 million. And we've used these resources to invest in and collaborate with more than 60 countries and 450 partners to address the legal, regulatory, and cultural barriers to women's economic empowerment. And today, I'd like to focus on a sector of the economy often overlooked when we talk about women's leadership, the energy sector, and specifically the regulatory commissions that govern the sector. Around the world and across the energy industry, there are very few women in top-tier leadership positions. There are many reasons for this lack of diversity. Workplaces without the flexibility to accommodate the competing demands women face throughout their careers, a lack of mentorship and career development support, and ingrained barriers to pursuing degrees in science, technology, engineering, and math. This lack of diversity is not only unacceptable, but it also leads to weaker institutions and a weaker energy sector. When women leaders are elevated, innovation is unleashed, from new tools to prevent the next cyber attack to novel ideas for promoting greater energy efficiency for consumers. In Europe and Eurasia, the intersection between the importance of the energy sector and opportunity to engage more women in leadership is particularly pronounced. The region is on the front lines of today's great power competition, pitting freedom against authoritarianism. Energy is one of the primary avenues used by malign actors to gain control and assert influence over countries in the region. Fostering greater energy independence is critical to preserving and advancing democracy and economic prosperity in Eastern Europe and Eurasia. That is why it is more important than ever to have a diverse and capable cohort of problem solvers serving in leadership roles in the region's energy sector. And because of this belief, I'm really excited to announce the new $1 million WGDP Advancing Women Leaders in Energy program implemented by NARUC. Through a combination of network building, targeted career development services, and the transformation of workplace barriers, we hope to build a cadre of women leaders in regulatory commissions across Europe and the Eurasia region. Women's economic participation in Europe and Eurasia has been vital to the region's emergence from behind the wall of communism. And we see an opportunity in this region to expand women's participation in the traditionally male-dominated energy and water sectors in the field of power and utilities. Everything changed with the dissolution of the former Soviet bloc in the early 1990s. The freedom to be innovative, to be entrepreneurial, and to recap the benefits of hard work was finally within reach. With these freedoms, however, came a period of enormous struggle. A competitive private sector had to be constructed from the ground up, and women played a vital role in helping to build new nations and new economies. Their intellect, innovation, and entrepreneurship is the reason many countries in Europe and Eurasia have advanced so far and so quickly. At every step along the way, USAID has walked side by side with women across the region, helping to equip them with the skills, knowledge, and support they need to achieve their goals. And now we are fueled by WGDP. For example, with WGDP support, we've worked with energy utilities in the region to create tangible economic opportunities for women. In Georgia, we've worked with the utility EnergoPro, which planned, organized, and launched a retraining program to train 100 female billing operators to upskill their qualifications. And in North Macedonia, we've worked with the utility EVN to reach parity in numbers of engineering internship applicants over the past 3 years, and they've had their first 10 female electrofitters this past year alone. These are just some of the outcomes that are possible when we place a special focus on women's empowerment and access to opportunity in our work. Energy is the lifeblood of our economy, and WGDP's Advancing Women Leaders in Energy paves the way for even greater outcomes. By supporting the career advancement of women in regulatory commissions, we are ensuring safer, more reliable electricity access for everyone in the region. Thank you so much again for letting me participate and cut the ribbon, so to speak, on this important activity. Back over to you, Erin. Thank you.
Great, thank you. It's so great to hear about the achievements of WGDP under a short period of time, and NARUC looks forward to further contributing. We're glad to have Nancy Eslick joining us from Bosnia and Herzegovina, where she serves as Mission Director for USAID. She leads a complex portfolio working to expand economic prosperity, combat corruption, and strengthen the rule of law. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Erin. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm pleased today to join such a distinguished group of professionals to discuss WGDP, Advancing Women Leaders in Energy. Thank you for the invitation. And a special thank you both to Ambassador Kelly Curry and to Jennifer Arangio, the Special Advisor to the USAID Administrator. I'm Nancy Eslick, Mission Director for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Since arriving in Sarajevo, one of the things that's impressed me the most about our development work here is USAID's successful and innovative leadership in the energy sector. In the span of just 2 decades since the end of the devastating Balkan War, USAID has helped BIH rebuild its power grid and transform into a regional energy exporter and a full member of the European energy community, which is creating an energy market across the EU and the region. USAID helped BIH become a regional role model in other ways as well. With our NARUC colleagues, we developed an online energy tool for consumers to compare consumption and pricing. Just a few weeks ago, BIH launched a campaign supported by USAID's energy programs to complete the Southern Natural Gas Interconnection Pipeline that will link BIH and Croatia, and also assure supplies of clean natural gas from free and open markets. This elevates BIH as a strong supporter of regional energy sector, further enabling the country's energy independence. we're working again with NARUC on our new W-GDP Advancing Women Leadership in Energy project, which is vital to ensuring women have greater opportunities to fill positions at all levels. In addition to these efforts, USAID is leading the way across Europe and Eurasia in developing free energy markets, particularly for natural gas. We're also working with countries to improve energy cybersecurity, so critical that energy infrastructure is protected. However, past success is no prediction for future achievement. So how does BIH and the region keep this momentum? Renewable energy is one answer. Some studies say BIH has the potential to produce as much energy from renewable energy sources as current consumption. More energy sources mean more jobs, and more jobs must mean more opportunities for everyone, specifically women. As much progress as BIH has made in developing and promoting its energy sector, it, like many Balkan countries, just as Jennifer mentioned, lags far behind in the inclusion of women leaders in energy. As an example, I recently attended the State Regulatory Commission of Bosnia and Herzegovina and met the only woman commissioner in the body's 17-year history. And before her appointment, she had been the only woman general manager of one of BIH's 3 power utilities, the first and the only woman executive in the BIH or any other regional energy sector. Unfortunately, this is the norm. How often are you the only woman on a professional panel, at the decision-making table, or in the laboratory? I'd like to think you would all agree it's past time to address this imbalance in one of the most critical sectors in society. The International Renewable Energy Agency estimates employment in the emerging renewable energy sector is expected to grow from 10.3 million jobs in 2017 to 29 million by 2050. And women in the future are the future of the sector. Yet barriers to women advancing in the energy sector start long before women seek employment. Access to training and education, particularly STEM, studies must be improved for women. I'm reminded of Catherine Burr-Blodgett, the first female scientist hired by General Electric Research Laboratories in 1918. She was just 20 years old. She earned her PhD in physics and is one of the inventors of the glass coating that is foundational to 2 areas of energy efficiency and renewables that's used in solar panels, LED, and OLED lighting. The world needs more Catherine Burr-Blodgetts, but also to see that we must advocate for and educate young women. In BIH, we're advancing capacities, abilities, and skills of teachers to encourage children at an early age to know that careers in STEM are available so they can take advantage of these opportunities that they never thought they could before. USAID BIH is partnering with 27 municipalities to establish entrepreneurship funds for women, also at the national level. We're working with the legislative powers by creating BIH Parliament's first women caucuses that will encompass women from all political parties. Perceptions of gender, culture, and social norms must also be addressed to enable women to give them the foundation for success. And when they are ready to seek jobs, prevailing hiring practices in traditionally male-dominated industries such as energy must be ready. To understand the drivers of women's participation across the energy sector, policymakers need more information to determine the extent to which gender gaps reflect underlying preferences, market dynamics, and even failures in a policy setting. Let me conclude by emphasizing again that as the energy sector transforms and renewable energy emerges, women must be included as critical leaders for the future. We cannot allow another 17 years to pass before women set national energy priorities, run energy companies, and serve as drivers of energy innovation and innovation. All of us, and especially the women leaders on today's panel, should be mentoring young women to take their rightful places in shaping the future of the energy world around us. The challenge is great, but the rewards of an energy sector in a society where women lead is even greater. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful to hear from our 3 high-level opening speakers. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm and commitment to the W-GDP initiative and gender equity. We would like to highlight the importance of gender equity in the workplace and a number of benefits it brings, including expediting problem solving through a diverse range of viewpoints, improving staff retention, and contributing to a more positive work environment where employees feel valued. In the context of energy regulation, integrating women into the energy sector as both employees and policymakers provides a voice to women affected by energy decisions and encourages regulators to consider the gender differentiated impacts of regulatory policy. Let's look at one more video we have for you from the chairman of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission, Gladys Brown-Dutrell.
So many people in my life that have been very influential in terms of the path that I have taken, including not only as a young student in church school teachers that really took an interest in me in making sure that I had an interest in education. And that continued in high school. I had a high school teacher that was really interested in government and politics. I thought I was going to become a pediatrician and ended up becoming a lawyer because of that class and the influence of it. And throughout my career, I've had many people that have just taken a special interest in me and have taken time to guide me through many things. Many times I didn't realize that they were mentoring me, but I would always encourage anyone to make sure that they look at the people along the way because they're really influencing you whether you know it or not. The advice that I've received along the way is preparing myself for the opportunities that may come my way, making sure I did the best that I could in anything that I did, whether I liked it or not. And that's the reason why I am a commissioner today. In terms of women and the changes that I have seen during my career, it's definitely a bright light in terms of the opportunities that I have seen. Not to say that it is, there are no barriers along the way, but I see more and more opportunities for women. And as I'm a lawyer, as I've seen the increase in number of women that have gone to law school, you see more and more opportunities for women to be in the higher positions instead of being outside of the boardroom. They're in the boardroom, they're running things. And here I stand before you as a female chair of a major utility commission within our country.
Great. For this webinar, we are delighted to have Judge Judith Yogman, a current commissioner from Virginia, facilitate this important conversation for our panel members. Judge Yogman is familiar to the NARUC community as she chaired the Electricity Committee from 2017 to 19, and she currently serves as NARUC's first vice president. Commissioner Yogman? Not sure if we have Commissioner Yogman online. We might have had some. There we are. Nice to see you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Erin, for that kind introduction. I am pleased to be part of this initiative and to be associated with its partners, USAID and NARUC. I have the privilege of moderating this panel with three distinguished and talented women who will be sharing their observations and the lessons they have learned as they successfully rose through the ranks in government and private sector, energy associations, and businesses. But before I introduce them, I will share a few tips that I too have learned along the way. When I began my career as an attorney with a government agency, there were very few women involved in the energy regulatory process. In my first energy rate case, there were about 50 people in the courtroom and only 2 were women. Since that time, more and more women have become part of the energy regulatory process, especially on the government side of the equation. But there is room for so much more improvement. How do we get there? Well, my recommendations fall into 3 categories, and they are, the first one, you heard Chairman Gladys Dutrell of Pennsylvania. This was one of her comments. The first one is do the work. The second one is be a team player. And the third one is to believe in yourself. First, do the work. What do I mean by this? You need to be the person that always completes the work on time and is thorough. You're someone people can count on. You need to support your boss and try to anticipate what she needs to do her job. I present this lesson to my own children this way. Your job is to do your assignments well and to make your boss look as good as possible. My second tip is be a team player. This is very important. First and foremost, when you're a team player, I firmly believe that life is more enjoyable. And you will notice that senior employees will be happy to mentor you and to help you, and opportunities will come your way. Third, and I think this is one where I've had to work harder, is to believe in yourself. In my experience, women often question their abilities. Do we know enough, or are we smart enough? In a previous job, I was the only woman on a senior staff. In meetings, I would watch most of the men give their opinion without reservation and with complete confidence. It was impressive. And most of the time they were right, but they were always confident. At that time, I was more timid and had a tendency to present options and was uncomfortable making a recommendation. Over time, I learned that if someone asked for an opinion, I could stand up and give my best reasoned opinion with confidence. When there were multiple options, I would say so and then state my preference. In the end, I guess my advice is you can be yourself and still project confidence. And part of believing in yourself is going for it. You are capable of much more than you know. I have noticed that sometimes we have a tendency to focus on why we can't do a job. We wrongly disqualify ourselves for almost any reason, such as our experience may not be directly related to an open opportunity. You must remember, you are hardworking, you're a team player, and you can analyze issues and give a recommendation. You should go for that promotion or job opening. When I have self-doubt, I always think about my grandmother. She was the toughest, smartest woman I have ever known. She did not have the opportunities that I have had, but she did seize every opportunity that came her way. I'm sure there is someone like my grandmother in your family. We should definitely model those women and go for it. And as you climb the ranks of the energy world, it is important to help and mentor others along the way. In my view, the truly successful women can name those they've helped along their career path. Where are the women who have worked for you? Don't forget to give them a chance to shine and climb the ladder of success with you. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Ellen Nowak. She is a commissioner with the Wisconsin Public Service Commission, and she is chair of the Committee on International Relations. And she has had various important posts, both within government of Wisconsin and within NARUC. And I think one of the most flattering things you can say about any person is that they heed the call of duty. Ellen was slated to be the president of NARUC, but the call of duty came to her in Wisconsin. So at some personal sacrifice, because she would have been the president of a national energy association, she went back to her home state of Wisconsin to support the governor. She's a leader, and I am very much looking forward to her comments. Ellen.
Thank you, Judy. Those are such kind words. I really appreciate it. And thank you to USAID for your support for this really important project. I'm just honored to be a part of it and excited to continue this discussion. And to all the previous speakers, so many great things that you've already said. It gets me inspired to continue to keep working on this. So much great advice already given. I just want to spend a few minutes talking to you about some of the things I've learned throughout my career and some of the advice I've received that I think helped me move along. And as a woman, I'll be honest, I never ever thought I would go into the energy field, but I've been in it. I'm in my 11th year right now. And it wasn't something, it came along as an opportunity and I just went for it. And I didn't give me a second thought of, you know, is there more men or women in the field? And then once I started looking around the room when I was in certain meetings, I realized, wow, this is a different crowd that I'm generally used to working with. But to me, that inspires me to continue to work harder and to prove myself and also help other women advance in the field. And I think it's all incumbent, you know, I've been lucky to have a really supportive family and, you know, environment here that helps women succeed. That's not to say there's not barriers, but I think it's incumbent upon me to continue to help women across the industry and in areas where maybe there are more barriers to continue to help them and how they can achieve what they want to get to. So what I'd like to, some of what you're going to hear from me is a little bit what you've heard already, but I maybe will have a little different personal story on it. But the first and foremost thing I would say to all of you is, first of all, congrats for being here. You've made that first step. You're participating in this program, and that's huge. And this is going to be a commitment. This isn't a one-time, you're not going to learn everything you need to know today. This is something that you're going to take with you, and we're going to develop over a series of webinars and interactions with each other, because it takes time to develop all of this. So as I was thinking about it, I was like, it's maybe a little bit like when you make that New Year's resolution and you're going to get in shape and you finally go to the gym, and sometimes the hardest part is getting to the gym, but now you got to stick with it. And we're going to be here to help you along the way to stick with it, because it's incredibly important. The second thing is, and I think Judy said this too, is believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, that comes across to other people around you, and no one else is really it's gonna have, be harder for other people to have confidence in you. So first of all, just visualize yourself in that job that you want. To use another analogy, a basketball player, I tell this to my teenage nieces a lot, when they have self-doubt, they don't go up to the free throw line and imagine themselves missing the shot. They make it. They visualize themselves making it. Visualize yourself in those roles you want, and you can see yourself. You've got to believe that you can do it, because you can. And you've got to, as Judy also said, you got to do the work and study hard to get there. And the other thing, speaking of studying, my second piece of advice is to be a good student. It's okay to sit back, and this is the one thing I do a lot. Watch the people around you. Look at how they act. Learn from their mannerisms. You can learn so much by observation, and I certainly have done that throughout my career. And if you find someone that you want to emulate, set up a time to go talk to them. Ask them about their career. Ask them what they did to get to that point in their development. Other women in particular, we're really happy to share this information. We need to keep helping each other. And the other thing that I think we all need to realize is, as soon as you're in the field, like you all are now, you immediately become a mentor to other younger women. So even though you're looking for advice, at the same time you're out there right now, what you're doing is sending a signal to younger women and your peers about what women can do as far as success. So always be mindful of that. A couple of times I was surprised that I later heard from some younger women that I've worked with, and they came up to me later and said, you know, you really taught me a lot, and I learned this and that from you. And I was taken a little back because I didn't know I was doing it outright. But so just always keep that in mind, but always be watching what others are doing, because you can learn a lot. There's a lot of good people around you to do it. It's really important for, I think, women to build each other up and be that team player, as was mentioned before. The other piece of advice is act like you belong there, because you do. Don't be the one to sit in the back of the room if there's a meeting. Don't shy away from raising your hand or speaking out if you know the answer. You've got to show that you know what you do, and it's okay to speak up. Don't be shy. Be assertive when you talk. Use good eye contact. Those are all going to be keys to show that confidence and that you have the ability to do what anyone else in that room is doing. Now, some other advice that I've seen, though, this is on the don't do it side, don't overcompensate. I've also seen that for women where, you know, you've got to speak when you know your matter, but don't try to just overcompensate for what you might feel is your shortcoming. I think that's a really critical thing for women going forward. One of the best pieces of advice I received from a woman that I worked with for several years was, you fake it till you make it. You're going to go out there and maybe you are going to have that internal anxiety or internal doubts. You got to walk in that room like you own it and be confident and talk yourself up to get in there. Don't fake the knowledge, of course, but you know, you've got to, it takes a while to build that confidence, and you can do it, but you've got to walk in with that confidence. The other piece of advice is really to have that presence. Dress, act, and walk the part. It's important to always dress professional as a woman. As I said earlier, make eye contact, speak loud. This is another thing women do a lot that I've really noticed. It's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when you do want to speak up and give that advice or maybe counter, we apologize before we speak what we want to say. Don't be sorry for your opinions. Don't say, well, I think this might be counter. Don't couch your opinions. Be confident in them. So don't apologize for what you have to say going forward. If you know it, say it with confidence and move forward. And then the last thing that I think is really critically important, because, you know, it's going to be you're going to have those anxieties. Every human does. You need to have someone that you can confide in, maybe even outside of the energy field, and let them be your sounding board. Let them be that person that you know you can share those doubts with, but then you have to go out and be that confident person. Every strong leader is just an ordinary human being. I was reading a great passage the other day on the biography of Margaret Thatcher, and she was about to meet the Queen for one of the first time. And Margaret Thatcher was incredibly nervous to meet the Queen of England. I'm thinking, this is Margaret Thatcher of all people. Like, the Queen should maybe be nervous to meet Margaret Thatcher, but she confided in the people around her. She had those self-doubts, but when she went out there, Margaret Thatcher always presented herself well, and she always knocked it out of the park. But she had those close advisors. She had a supportive family that she could talk to. And I think that's really critical too. It's okay to let your guard down, but when you are ready to go on, you go out and you give it with all you've got, because you can do it. So those are just some of my pieces of advice that I have received along the way. There's lots of, I know, structural changes that need to be made in some areas and commissions around, even in the US and around the world, that I'm looking forward to helping others to succeed with. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Judge Yagman for our next speaker.
Judge Yagman, we can't hear you.
I apologize for that. I said, I believe we have a video next, do we not? Our next, do we have a video now?
Hello, my name is Ann-Laura Nilsson, and I'm the Director General at the Swedish Energy Markets Inspectorate, the Swedish energy regulator. This is a role that I've had now for almost 8 years. Traditionally, the energy sector has been very male-dominated, but the sector is undergoing a huge transformation, and we need to rethink in many areas. To accelerate the change, we need strong and diverse leadership, and we need more women in leading positions. A hurdle that I overcame in my career was actually a mental one. For many years, I did not believe that an absolute top job was something that I could reach. But this changed when I started to admit to myself that I was actually ready to take the next step in my career. And after having passed this mental hurdle, I also started to articulate those thoughts, telling others, and especially talking to my mentor. He encouraged me to apply for a job as a Director General, and I actually got the job. So help from a good mentor could not be underestimated. But I also think that sometimes we as women, we are too humble. Maybe this is because the way we were brought up. And I've heard many women say that a job should speak for itself, and also women in the top position saying that they ended up in that position due to coincidence or just because mere luck. I think we need to stop expressing ourselves like that. If you're interested in a leading role in the energy sector, believe that you have the ability and say that out loud. Tell people that you're interested in that kind of job. And if you have the possibility to get advice from a mentor, I think you should take that. The energy sector is extremely dynamic, and it's undergoing a massive change. I have never regretted that I took on a leading role in this context. It's meaningful, but it's also great fun. I wish all of you good luck.
We're in for a treat now. Our next speaker is Colette Honorable. Colette just makes it look so easy. She exudes confidence. She was a total success as a state commissioner. She was NARUC president. She then became a commissioner on the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and she's now a partner at Reed Smith. Without further ado, Colette, we're really looking forward to your comments. And as I've said before, I've heard you speak, and we're all in for a treat.
Thank you so much, Judge Yagman, and I want to greet everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. It is a pleasure to be with you. I want to extend a special debt of gratitude to NARUC, which is certainly like family to me, as Judge Yagman said, to USAID, to W-GDP, and for all of you for this commitment. This is an incredible day for this virtual launch. I'm excited to be here. I also want to extend greetings to all of the NARUC International Program staff, as well as my dear friend, Commissioner Nowak, Ellen Nowak, from whom you just heard a little bit ago. We are on this journey to advance the cause of women leaders in energy. And this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, along with the women that you've heard from today. And quite frankly, there are a number of men who are committed to this cause, who are husbands and fathers of women and are really committed to this work. So it's an honor to be with you today. I would like to take today this opportunity to visit with you about some of my experience in the public sector and in the private sector, where I, along with my colleagues, have been very focused and intentional and deliberate about making room for women and the leadership and the potential they can bring to an organization. I want to start with Arkansas. I chaired and served as a commissioner at the Arkansas Public Service Commissioner. I was there 7.5 years. I served as interim chairman and at some point took on the role of chairman for 4 years. During that time, we made a decision, and it was in consultation with my colleagues, but it was something I was very focused on doing, revamping how we interviewed for key staff positions and staff throughout the agency. I required that every interview panel have diversity, and that meant women on the interview panel and people of color on the interview panel. Through this commitment, we also put forward diverse panels for consideration for our future staff at the agency. And I can tell you that even today, we've seen the fruits of that labor as we have greater numbers of women. Now the executive director of the agency is a woman. One of the commissioners is a woman, and she is diverse as well. And so this is a commitment that we made early on, not to hire a certain number of people every year, no quotas, but really a commitment to give women an opportunity to shine and show what they're made of, and just to give them the opportunity. I also developed an internship program while at the Arkansas Public Service Commission that focused on women and people of color. So we made sure that every summer we brought on interns that were women and who were of some ethnic diverse group. I'm really pleased about the progress there too. There's a woman there today, her name is Sonia. I hired her as a summer intern, and now she's in a key leadership role at the commission. Again, all we need as women is an opportunity. Once you crack that door a little bit, once you open that window a little bit, we'll kick it through. Then I went, as Judge Yagman said, to the U.S. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and was really pleased when I arrived there to see very vibrant and robust employee resource groups. I had the opportunity to work with the Women Empowering Women, ERG. And this resource group was very vibrant. We had monthly meetings, and we heard, yes, from the leaders of the agency, but the thing I loved is that we heard from folks you wouldn't think of, who led humbly, who led valiantly. And it was through that organization that we saw women really getting their footing, gaining confidence and self-esteem, who really began to see themselves in the roles that they dreamed and who got them. So it was wonderful. Through that experience, women would reach out to me to say they wanted to be mentored or to spend some one-on-one time. I didn't have enough time in the day to take them all on, but what I thought I would do is start a book club. And it was just a small group of us. We met over lunch. Everyone brought their lunch. It was very informal, very quaint. And we read a book together on executive presence and really focused a great deal on our stumbling blocks individually. Where are the places where we felt weak, where we could get tips from one another, inspiration, encouragement, motivation. Every single one of those women is now in a leadership role. I won't say it's because of me. I would say it's because they exhibited their own willingness to serve and to do more, to be more, and they believed in themselves, as you've heard the other speakers say. It's our role to encourage one another, and I really am honored to be a part of, now as an alumnus of NARUC, which does such a great job of that and supporting women around the globe. During my time at FERC, my colleague Cheryl LaFleur was chairman of the agency for a period of time, and in consultation with the other commissioners, including myself, then Chairman LaFleur placed a number of women in key leadership roles. They are in those roles today. Having women in leadership roles is such a critical imperative. And so it is our job, it's incumbent upon each of us to focus on how we do that. We don't always need to be out front. What can we do behind the scenes to encourage and inspire and even advocate for women and champion women? That's a critical element as well. Now in my current role, as you've heard, I'm a partner at Reed Smith in the Energy and Natural Resources Group. Reed Smith has 30 law firm offices around the globe, a number throughout Europe. And one of the things that drew me to this place, yes, an opportunity to continue doing the work that I love in the energy sector domestically and around the world. But honestly, it was their focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Reed Smith has an incredible women's initiative network. It's really vibrant around the world, and I am honored to lead the DC office's initiative. We are focused on the hiring, retention, and promotion of women. We are unapologetic in our advocacy for women. These women are fierce. They are bold. We don't take no for an answer. We have been really focused in the last few years on supporting women who want to start families and making sure that when they decide they want to return, whether it's part-time or full-time, that they have the very same opportunities that they had before they left. So no more stagnation, no more staying in place. We want to help women achieve anything they want to do because we can do it and we do it well. Right now, in the middle of the pandemic and this COVID-19 new normal, we are focused on supporting men and women who are parents of young children at home. I know a number of us participating today have right now, our children are learning virtually. And guess what? We're expected to carry on our day, meeting every obligation as if it was a time of the past. And it's very stressful. It's very stressful for women in particular because so much of these duties naturally fall on us. But we've been very committed to making sure that our families have the resources that they need to succeed and to manage in these changing and challenging times. I want to lastly mention the Women in Energy initiative of the International Confederation of Energy Regulators. A number of us have been very involved with ICER and with WE over the years. I was honored to help lead and stand up an e-mentoring program for women around the globe, where we partnered mid-level career women, senior level career women in energy regulation, utility regulation, with men and women mentors around the globe. It's now in its 5th or 6th year. I've been honored to mentor and support women throughout the world: Turkey, Egypt, Canada, St. Lucia, the US. One thing I've learned is that we all have the same desires. We all have the same challenges, but it's incumbent upon each of us to support one another. I remember starting in this sector very new, very green, doubting myself, doubting whether I could succeed. And now I am seen as a domestic and international energy policy expert. Why? Because I had men and women who supported me, but more importantly, because I worked hard and I believed in myself and I gave myself a chance to succeed in this work. So please know, as I conclude, it is indeed an honor to be with you today. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better, to supporting you, and also learning about your success stories in the global energy footprint. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Colette. Those were very inspiring comments, and I too look forward to working with you on this initiative. We now have a video from the chairman of the Illinois Commerce Commission, Carrie Zalewski.
Hi, my name is Carrie Zalewski, and I am the chair of the Illinois Commerce Commission. If I look back and think about the attribute that has helped me the most in my career and has served me so well is a term that we use in the United States called grit. And the concept of grit is that it is working towards a goal every single day, day in, day out, with passion and perseverance. I've read, in fact, that grit is the biggest indicator of success, more than race, more than gender, more than upbringing. Look, taking on these roles, these challenging roles, are not easy. You know, we all have a lot going on in our lives. I have 4 children under the age of 11, and I love being a mom, but it is extremely demanding. But what I do is I use my grit to focus on the goals and the things that I want to get, that I would like to accomplish while I am in this role as commissioner, that I am so grateful to have. I also try to put myself in situations where I have an opportunity to sharpen some of the skills that I know aren't my strengths, to become the best version of myself that I possibly can. But finally, I approach this job with gratitude and humility. I am grateful that I have a job that I can come to every day, and I am challenged every hour, and I learn something new, and I get to make a positive impact on people's lives. I'm also humbled by the difficulty of the subject matter. I study as an engineer, and I can say with certainty that energy markets are more difficult than quantum physics. So I am both grateful and humbled to be a part of this program, and I look forward to getting to know some of you much better.
We're now going to hear from Maya Malaquisa. Maya also, no doubt, has an impressive background. She is the chair of the Energy Regulators Regional Association, and she is a commissioner at the Georgian National Energy and Water Supply Regulatory Commission. She also is an associate professor working to integrate business and technology, and she also has a very strong background in the private sector, working for many, many years with Ernst & Young as an accountant. Maya, thank you for being with us today. We're looking forward to your comments.
Well, first of all, let me express my gratitude to the organizers and to each participant who is now attending this really very interesting and important, let's say, event. And let me hereby express my thanks to those ladies who have already shared their experiences and expertises in their fields, and they share their career ladder and the path that they have already passed. And this really were for me very, very interesting examples to share. Well, I'm excited to be part of the Women's Global Development and Prosperities Initiative, Advancing Women Leaders in Energy project, which is sponsored by the U.S. Energy for International Development and implemented by the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners. As Judith has mentioned, I'm Maya Malaquisa. I'm a commissioner at the Georgia National Energy and Water Supply Regulatory Commission and the chair of Energy Regulators Regional Association, just elected just a couple of months ago. Well, it is my pleasure to have an opportunity of sharing my experience with you, with mid-career women and with entire audience, mostly working in energy sector. I'm motivated to explain the importance of gender equity and to make contribution in the process of women empowerment. Individual employees go through a series of career development stages as they progress through their work life, regardless of the type of work they do. These stages are, in my opinion, well, exploration, establishment, mid-career and then late career and decline afterwards. Well, all these stages are those stages that individuals are passing through their lives. Well, I would like to focus on each of them in order to share my, let's say, subjective opinions with you. Well, exploration, in my opinion, is a stage of self-exploration and making preliminary choices, a transition period from college to work, when one chooses a profession according to her or his needs and starts developing necessary skills. Establishment is the next step when the individual has entered into a career and becomes concerned with building a skill set, developing work relationships, advancing and stabilizing career path. Well, it is also marked by making mistakes and learning from these mistakes. Moreover, gradual assumption of increased responsibilities. And when we reach to mid-career, it is a third, let's say, career development stage that our program is concentrated on. This is a time when individuals may continue their prior improvements in the performance or begin to deteriorate or remain constant. For most of the people, it is the most difficult stage for moving up to the next one, especially in gender-sensitive fields such as energy sector. Moving forward and reaching your purposes require hard work, and I'm sure you all agree with me. Also, we have to add creativity, self-confidence, and constant learning of new things and skills. According to my personal experience in the process of moving from mid-career to senior level positions, individuals need to go through a number of processes, or we can call stages. At first, one needs to become an opinion maker to make creative, valuable ideas. Next stage is to become a decision maker and then decision implementer afterwards. In my presentation, I would like to emphasize the motivation, let's say, psychology as one of the most essential elements of the career development. This is vital at every stage of the career development. The motivation gives us a purpose and helps us to overcome challenges that we encounter. It is proved that individuals who are motivated are also better able to overcome setbacks which exist in everyday life, because they are able to remain focused on their purposes, and this is the motivation that pushes us forward. Furthermore, they are more likely to be working harder for accomplishing their goals. I would say that motivation, along with effort, dedication, and other components, is the key of my career development success. Well, my friends, you are great at what you do and have a clear roadmap of where you want your career to take you. But the reality is that advancing does not happen overnight. And I'm sure you all agree with me. It takes time and hard work. Moreover, there will be times when you progress quite quickly, but there may be also be times when things slow down or even become stagnant. At such moments, we start feeling discouraged, but the trick is to stay motivated even when you feel like you are standing still. You need to push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. According to my experience, there are several ways that help us in maintaining a high level of motivation. This is, as my colleague Alan mentioned, visualizing your goals. So visualization is one of the key issues. And also, you have to be realistic and moreover optimistic, creating your competitive environment. I mean, surrounding ourselves with motivated people who are constantly striving for success and advancement. It definitely promotes inspiring each other to constantly do better and not to give up. I would love to complete my presentation with an amazing quote of Nelson Mandela that I believe to be very motivational for each of us. It always seems impossible until it's done. Hence, achieving your career goals might seem impossible for now, but I'm sure that being motivated, working hard, and investing time, effort soon will pay off. So never ever give up. Thank you for your attention and wish you all health, prosperity, and great success. Thank you, my dear friends.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marissa. We're now going to have a video clip from Marissa Gillette, Chairman of the Connecticut Public Utilities Regulatory Authority.
Hi, my name is Marissa Gillette, and I am the chair of the Connecticut Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, which is the Energy Regulatory Commission in the state of Connecticut. So, I started in this industry a little over a decade ago. And I say that I've always been fascinated by the idea of trying to take a really complicated subject matter like energy and make it more accessible to everyday people. Public utilities are, energy, water, gas, it's just something that all of us use in our everyday life. And yet most people know little about it except they pay the bill once a month. And when they turn the faucet on or the light switch up, that electricity and water and gas, they all flow. And I think it's hard for us to advance society when the subject matter is just so poorly understood, by everyone. So that really motivates me in my day-to-day life, trying to make our decision-making process and the subjects that we work on more transparent and accessible. And I've had a lot of help getting to where I am today, and I cannot stress enough the importance of strong coaches and female mentors that you can relate to and discuss things with, and bounce ideas off of and get critical feedback from. And they've been invaluable to my career development, and I'm looking forward to being on the other side of the equation. Someone recently told me that we are all judged by the number of people that we bring along the way with us in terms of producing leaders. And I want to look back and be judged on how many leaders, female leaders, that I've enabled and helped advance in their career. And I'm looking forward to doing that in this project. And along the way, I'd say some of the most helpful advice that I've received is that women, as women, we always underestimate ourselves, and that when looking to advance in our careers and looking at a job advancement opportunity, that we underestimate ourselves and don't apply for that job. We don't neatly tick every qualification that we think they're looking for. And we should keep in mind that men never ever second guess themselves, and they don't have any problem throwing their hat in the ring for an opportunity, even if they are underqualified. And as women, we should keep that in mind and know that it's up to the people looking to fill that role to make that ultimate decision about whether we are qualified as candidates. So let's not do ourselves a disservice by declining to even apply for a job. I really credit that advice with getting me into the position that I'm in today, leading a regulatory agency this soon in my career. So if that resonates with you, I hope that we have the opportunity to connect through this project, and I look forward to working with all of you. So have a great one.
Again, that was the chairman of the Connecticut Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. We now have question and answer time. So I will, I'm going to give a few questions, and I also encourage anyone attending to also send your questions. There's a question icon. You should have it, and please feel free to open that up. But I'm going to start with this one. Ladies, what general trends, in your opinion, prevent women from entering or staying in the energy field? Let's start with Maya. What do you think about that, Maya?
Well, thank you for the question. This is the drawback. You absolutely emphasize the issue, which is facing, I think, every woman. Well, when you are moving on your career ladder, so it is very much important from where you start. We of course focus on the education, which is of course a challenging issue in most countries, and especially I represent Georgia, which is a really very small country, which is located near Russia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia. So this is a region which is called Caucasus, and I represent a country which has a story of Soviet period. So, and I am always, when I'm teaching and giving my lectures to my students, I'm always saying that I was born in the Soviet period, so please take this as an example, but it means that the generation that was prior us, I mean women, they managed somehow to break this, let's say, drawback, which was called planning everything in advance and state doing everything instead of you. Now we are moving into the era which I call always from independence to freedom. Maybe this is something that all women are facing, but in their small community. When you feel yourself independent, but another issue whether you feel yourself free or not. So the component of freedom always takes the first, let's say, place. And I'm always focusing while talking to my peer ladies who are representing a new generation born in Soviet period, but the one who took the burden of moving this country to the world of freedom, that never ever evaluate others as those who are below your skills. Always treat everyone around you as your peer, and always talk to them in order to inspire them to move forward. Well, currently we are facing COVID-19, but I'm sure, as I mentioned in my video, tomorrow will be another name of the challenge. But I'm sure, and once again, that women can take the burden, which is called taking their countries to the world, which is gives you the opportunity to think freely, to move freely, and to creating your career in a free world. So which region I represent especially. Thank you, Judith, for this really very interesting question. Especially, I was just reading here, a lady from Africa was asking a question and really was very eager to be a part of us. And this is very valuable for us as well. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll remind you of the question, because sometimes when you have a pause between the question and the answers, it's good to refocus. So what general trends prevent women, in your view, from entering and staying in the energy field? Let's start with Colette now.
Thank you, Judge Yagman. And let me say to Maya how delighted we are to have you as part of this launch. We have worked really strongly over the years with our friends in the Baltic region and the Eurasian region, in Baku, in Azerbaijan, in Turkey, with Georgia. So we are just delighted to have your perspective and your involvement in leadership. A number of trends I think are are key. We have a saying here, and I'm from the South in the United States, you can't be what you can't see. So I think sometimes women are discouraged. Maybe it's nothing anyone has said, but if they don't see someone in leadership that looks like them, that has that shared lived experience, it can be discouraging. So I think it's critical that women see other women leading and leading well, leading with confidence, leading with knowledge, leading unapologetically. That's key. Another trend in my mind is sometimes women get to that middle level of management and they can't seem to break through it. We call it this middle layer. And so it's really critical that as leaders in this field that we focus on that group of women. They've already demonstrated themselves. They've already shown that they've got the chops. They have what it takes to get the job done. So now we need to focus on that group and focus on helping them break through and to rise up in leadership. Those are a couple of examples, so I'll stop there.
Okay, Ellen?
Yeah, and my comments are largely in line with what my colleagues said. I think there's still, and they all work together. I think it's some of the institutional barriers that still exist. Unfortunately, we'll never guarantee everyone that equal outcome, but we need to guarantee equal opportunity to start out. And unfortunately, there's too many places where not everyone has that equal opportunity, including women. But I also think the other part is just, and then that feeds into, I think what Colette said, you have to visualize and see, you can't become what you don't see. And seeing other women and having that confidence in yourself that you can do what someone else is doing, we really have to, I think, do a better job of keeping, encouraging each other. Even women in high ranks in leadership, we still all need to keep each other motivated. So we have to do it to ourselves and we have to do it to those mid-level managers that Colette mentioned. So I think we have to just continue, we can't let up.
Along those lines, like I said, I've heard and had conversations with Colette and Ellen, and I know there are strong mentors in your family, in all of their families. So like I said, a lot of times it's not a lawyer. And I know in my own experience, there really was, when I said I wanted to go to law school, my father, who was a lawyer, he went on the GI Bill, very fortunate to have that opportunity. But, he was not all that encouraging. He said, it's a lot of hard work. So, I'm curious. In my family, they were encouraging of education, but not necessarily at this level. And I'm curious for you women, was that your experience as well? Either anybody wants to pop in.
I'll jump in very quickly to say, no, go Ellen, no, I'll yield to you, please.
Well, I was lucky. I mean, my parents were both, my mom was a nurse, my dad's engineer and rose into management, and they never questioned what we wanted to do. I think they secretly wanted one of us to become a nurse or an engineer. I'm the first lawyer in the family and still the only one. And so I've never been, I more had people ask me like, why do you want to be a lawyer of all things? Because just I think reputation of some lawyers sometimes. Yeah. But I've been fortunate to be surrounded by a really supportive family and successful parents and successful siblings. That's why I think it's now I've got to turn it around and help others who maybe haven't been as lucky as I have. I think that's part of my duty now.
Ellen, there's no doubt you pay it forward. We've all gotten to know each other well over the years, and I think one of your nieces might be a lawyer. I don't know.
I think so.
But I'm an attorney as well, and very proud to be a part of the most noble profession. It's interesting. I'm so glad you asked this question, Judy, because we need our own personal support systems. I think both Maya and Ellen have mentioned that. I have a niece named Maya. So we encourage her quite a bit as well. I think for me, my father was a real estate professional and he taught college. And he told me that he thought I would make a great lawyer. At the time, I wasn't interested in the law. My mother worked in maintenance for 40 years and was my strongest and still is my strongest supporter to this day. I remember her sitting me on her bed when I was a little girl, me and my twin sister, and saying, "You can do anything you want to do." And she encouraged me, even as she had a high school education, not a college education, but she cleaned the courthouses where the judges were. And so the judges knew me because of my mother's favor. So my mother possessed all of the qualities that we should possess: respecting ourselves, walking with confidence, treating others with respect. And so therefore she, even though she wasn't a professional in the sense that we think about professional degrees, engineering, medicine, law, she has been my biggest encourager and supporter and still is to this day.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Colette and Ellen Noel. I have 3 daughters now, and I'm always supporting them in their ideas. Well, one of them wants to become a writer, and none of in our family has such an experience and expertise in like becoming a poet or a writer. But you're absolutely right, my dear friends and ladies, that when you have a huge support from your family, whatever you want to be, so it gives you an opportunity to realize your dreams and to realize your skills in a real life. And it's always a formula of achieving a success. Absolutely agree with you. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're at our closing time, unless Erin tells me we have a reprieve. So I guess we regrettably must say goodbye to everyone now. But we really look forward to meeting with you again, and we hope that you are able to make time to be with us, because we are better and stronger together. Thank you very much from all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.